This is why you are tired. You have no structure. You can hold as much as you want if you have the correct structure, and it doesn't take grit.
Without my structure, I don't have flexibility. Living with intent gives you clarity.
It means you're holding all of it.
There's seasons for momentum and seasons for rest. We're running towards our dreams, but also have perception that we're running from a monster.
If I feel like that beast running behind me is wearing me out, I need to pause. Time will slow down because things will start happening.
So just in this topic, I've had a lot of good learning and growing to do in the topic of structure versus cages. Right? Anyone else felt like structure? Like, how many of you guys are like epic with your routine? Okay,
One person has their hand.
I did not
two,
expect that.
3.
Okay, yeah. How many of you kind of detest routine? I'm putting my hand up because I put my hand up. So this has been a really big topic also for me. Last year it was. And had a really interesting coach teach something pretty powerful here. In fact, I was going to do it, but I don't remember exactly how he did it. So okay, I'll just tell you what he did. So he was, I believe, really strong that anybody that you follow, if they're not also getting coached, they are a false coach, right? It's like two wings on a plane. We're always learning and growing. What's that phrase? I think it's Gandhi, right? Always a student, sometimes a teacher, right? So I believe in getting coached. And coaching and all that stuff. So, and guides and all that stuff. So anyway, so he was helping me understand why I'm so tired. I'm not anymore. This was about 2-3 years ago. And he stood up and he was he was trained by Bruce Lee's top student, and he was going to go be in Hollywood and be this big, martial art guy and stuff like that. And took this huge wild turn, and he's using martial art principles to help business people who are just like really not, they got, so that's, he like randomly showed up to my event. And he's like, "You're in trouble." I was like, "I didn't know that, but teach me."
Teach me, wise one.
So, no, but he worked with me a lot. And he said, "I'm going to teach you why you're so tired." He goes, "I want you to punch me." Right. So we're standing face to face. And he goes, he said, "When I was learning how to punch, this monk was like, well, what's like the biggest things with a punch?" And he couldn't even name one thing. He's like, "I can punch really hard." He's like, "You don't know what you're talking about. Go study." And it turns out it's geometry. It's the number of triangles you can create in your body. That's the structure. It's not how strong the muscle is. It's how strong the structure is, and the transfer of energy and how fast you can whip it around, stuff like that. It's not the muscle as much as it is the structure. And he said, "I'm going to teach this to you real quick." And then we stood face to face. And he goes, "I'm going to fall forward." Big guy, a little bit taller than me, muscular guy. He's like, we're going to like face to face. I'm going to fall forward. I want you to catch me. Don't move though. You can imagine what's going to happen. So he started falling forward. Dude crushed me, right? And I was like, "Thanks, coach." Right? That was weird, right? He goes, "Now what I want you to do is we're going to just use geometry." He's like, "I don't want you to use any energy at all. No effort. Don't do any amount of power." Right? Or force, rather. And what he did is he had me stand at a very specific stance. I widened my feet just a little bit, and I created a triangle between my legs, right? I created a triangle. He's like, "We're going to create as many triangles in the body as we possibly can." You think about like a bridge, if you look at underneath it, right? There's triangles all over there for a reason. He's like, "We're going to create triangles all over the place, and you can put your hands in this way." And I was just standing normally, just with my hands up, is what it felt like. He's like, now I want you to fall forward." And as he I'm going to fall forward. And as he fell forward, it was the spookiest feeling, because I barely knew, if he wasn't just touching my fingertips with his chest, I wouldn't know there was any force or any pressure at all. He's like, "This is why you are tired. You have no structure." He goes, "All I want you to do is take your left elbow and move it out 2 inches. And I did, and I collapsed, and he fell into me. And he goes, "You can hold as much as you want in your entire life if you have the correct structure, and it doesn't take grit." And you keep thinking structure is grit. He's like, "You need structure." I was like, "Yeah, but like routines." He's like, "I'm going to talk about routines. I'm talking about structure." He's like, "So what is your morning structure? What is your evening structure?" I definitely have a fear of like cages. And it wasn't until I was in a psychedelic thing. I don't know if you guys are into that. You have to raise your hand, but it changed and saved my life. And I had this interesting vision in it. Can I say it real quick? This is what helped me heal it. It was DMT. Okay. It's your brain already makes it. It's what makes you dream. You just take a lot of it at once, and you disassociate, and meaning you kind of leave your body. It's a very interesting experience, and it was very scary, very scary. This tone freaked me out. I remember it so clearly. I could draw it. I suddenly realized I was in a cage, because one of the reasons these medicines work, especially if you treat it like a medicine, is because they make you face your stuff, right? And look right and confront the beast. Well, I realized I was in a cage, and I woke up out of it just freaking out. And I was with this shaman, and he's like, settle down. You know, they're like, it's okay, you're okay. I was like, oh my gosh, super strong cage, points on the inside, not being able to go anywhere. Very scary for me, right? Just any type of cage. And I knew the reason I was doing this is because I had created an inappropriate relationship between structure and routine and thinking that they're a cage. And so I had no morning routine, no evening routine, no structure, nothing. You get what I'm saying? Like, anyone else been like that? Really tough to be a rare thing with no structure. It means you're holding all of it, right? And so that's why I went to this. I was like, I need some help. This is like a lifelong thing for me. I don't know where it comes from. Stuff in the childhood and all that. Well, you take the first dose of this, and then you take it several times. So the first dose comes in, and I told him, cage, whole thing, I don't want to do that again. Like, that freaked me out. I mean, full body shock. I was in like a trauma state. My leg, it was like I was going numb. And they said, just sit with it for quite a while. So I did. And they're like, do you want to do it again? I was like, no, but that's why I'm here. Is that going to happen again? They're like, we don't know. And I did the second round of DMT and immediately get pulled into this. And I start seeing the walls again, bars. And a painting unfolded where I realized I was looking up. And these, what looked like bars, were around me. And I suddenly realized, I'm like trying not to get emotional on this, that I was a kid in a crib. And that was not a cage. It was a crib. And it's the crib's job to protect the baby. And not think that the structure is not there to hurt me. It's there to protect me. It was one of those powerful things I've ever gone through my entire life. And I came back out of it again. And I was like, holy cow. And I had this very deep feeling that I was going to meet the real me for the first time. Right? No filter, nothing else. And I did it that third round, and I don't know how to describe it. It was like a spiritual washing machine, just buffing off all this belief and all this garbage that was there and I didn't realize was holding me back and down. And I came out of that realizing that I was pushing off structure, believing it was a cage, when really it was the thing that was upholding my vision and my rare purpose. Right? And so I actively, I don't have great structure still, but now I've been able to go through and start piecing it together. What are the structures in my life? What's the structure in our relationship? Right? What's the structure? Because I'm building an Empire State Building, baby. I know where I'm going, but I think of that foundation, right? Of course, it's been hard for me over the last few years to go do that. Structure. How huge. So the reason I'm bringing this up is to pre-frame and make a little bit of a shift. What is it that you guys feel like? And this is 100% a personal question. I don't think anyone can answer this for us. But what is it that helps you create the structure inside of your lives to support your rare path?
I'll kick it. I'm very unstructured too. Terrible. Need to go do some DMT with a shaman.
That's not what I'm saying, just so y'all know. No.
Disclaimer.
But we have a great connection. Okay.
I want to a lot of friends in that space.
Changed my life.
Yeah.
But I'd say that the greatest thing that I had to build structure for just how I live my life is to throw it over to you, how I look at things. And it came from a personal development program I went through in 2015. And it had me realize that I just wasn't living in reality at all. I was living in my own perceived reality. Just, every experience we have creates a concept. And then that more fully shapes the nice experience we have. So I'm just living inside of these concepts built out of trauma in my life. And it was all just defense mechanisms everywhere to protect myself. And now it's just stripping that apart so I can understand the difference between the story and the narrative that I have going on in my head versus what really happened. And I play everything out against that. Like anytime there's like any emotional charges, anything, I was like, okay, well, what's the story that's creating this? Like, okay, what was the actual experience? And I just pull things apart in that way because I can see if I'm like limiting myself with stories. It's like, okay, well, what's the story I'm telling myself? But let's up that one, you know?
Yeah.
Or if something's working.
Really well. And I notice I'm really happy and in good spirits. It's like, well, what's the story I'm telling myself in this relationship or in this experience? And it's just constantly pulling it down to like those bare bones of that so I can understand the concepts that my mind's creating. So I can, choose the ones that I like more and do away with the other ones or let go of the story or rewrite the story. And, really be able to be a cause in my life versus at the effect of things happening. And it's, there's structure to that, but the very unstructured with a lot of other stuff, but it's taken me from being like deeply depressed over a decade ago to like helping people that are suicidal not be suicidal. And shits at everything about my life because I just get to know I'm making all the shit up. Be it PTSD, ADHD, any of that. It's like, okay, here's a box up there. My stuff, right? Is that helpful right now? No? Well, let's quit making up this story and this narrative and start choosing a different path. Let's start choosing different, avenues and different actions that align with what I actually want. A lot of push ones in life. Wanting what I want. No, that's so helpful with that too, but it's just pulling those two things apart because most of us, it's, it's collapsed. Here's the story I have about shit. And here's what actually happened. And they're just like layered over each other. And like, you can't see through it because it's just these lids that we've learned to like listen to everything life through. And if we can pull that apart, then we can actually be present in reality and not so stuck. Speak to some other questions where you're like, meditation is the number one. It's the health practice I do. And there's this dude, coolest name ever, Dick Wood.
Oh my gosh.
He was strong name, right? He was
Very strong name.
I just changed my name.
There's a Hollywood name.
Yeah, wow. What were his parents thinking?
But
this dude was a World War II veteran, and his best friend was M. Scott Peck, who rode like the road less traveled. Dude started meditating in the 50s. And he was out at the retreat center I used to work at, and my buddy Larry asked him, he's like, well, what do you do? You have any certain virtues you live by or mantras or anything that's like really had you live a great life? Because he's a cool dude. He talks about playing shuffleboard. He lives in like a retirement old people community with some assisted living. Shuffleboard's when he's hooking up with other old ladies.
thanks to little blue pills. They're not all bad, I guess.
I guess so.
Pills.
But he thought about it for a while. I'm like, just this soup like an old man does, and always has to like wet his mouth before he talks, and he has that old Midwestern accent. And he was like, not really, but I've noticed that when I make my life about others, it works better. I was like, oh yeah, because if I'm just focused on myself and my own happiness, I'm just circling a supple, like just circling my tray. This then it's all through the filter. How does this affect me? Versus just being a cause for impacted posts. But some meditation, I've been calling my own bullshit out.
Yeah.
Be my structure.
Yeah.
That helps.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because what were you saying?
I was just going to say there was a hand raise in the back. You keep talking while we're moving it.
Oh yeah, while you're passing it back there, just to piggyback, which was, with the whole crib thing, that was a big part of it. Was I was being told, you spiritually are no longer a baby. You could just stand up and step over. But now it's up to you to make your own structure, your own crib. But it's not a wall; it's protection.
It was the same situation. You got to change the perspective, therefore change the story. Because otherwise, the only thing keeping the story alive is you. You can have two people in the exact same situation. You mentioned Viktor Frankl earlier. These people that were in concentration camps, and some people that came out of it, and like Viktor Frankl made incredible books from that experience and found the will to live through that. And then other people that didn't. And I love that you brought up the story, because I think if you can change the story, you change your life. And your situation, like you saw this framework of the cage And then the different perspective was it was a crib, which then gave you the story of, oh, wait, what belongs in a crib? A baby? I'm not a baby anymore?
Step out, guy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We had the shaman tell us once, actually. He was like, we were doing ayahuasca, and he goes, your body regenerates every 7 years.
You are
basically every
literally
cell.
a different
You're a
person.
different person every 7 years. So if you have something that you're still hanging on to 7 years
Yeah,
ago,
you
more
healed
than
that a long
7
time
years,
ago.
He's like, you're just literally the one keeping it alive. Like, when are you just going to get over what happened more than 7 years ago? Not that it has to take that long, but it's really interesting.
The only thing keeping the story alive is you.
Yeah, just addicted to the past.
Yeah.
For somebody to get to the point where you're able to get to like a root issue from like decades ago, that's a really good sign of where you are at in your personal growth. And so when it comes to structures, one of the things I think really works is to know that you, like you were talking earlier about being able to be around others and helping others. That's really, it's what can really make a big difference in your life. And so a structure that I continue to run into that I think is pretty, what you were saying was how, like your mother and your father and grandparents, like they're so robust. And one thing that they really cared about was family. And so that is something that happened and continues to come up time and time again. Are the relationships that we have with those within our house, are they something that are helping us? Like, are they at a triangle angle? Or like, do they have that? Or are they something that's like 2 inches off? And then so on with our immediate families, like our parents, where our family origin and our biological families, like, those are structures that even if they're no longer there, do we hold up the angle that we want to with them? And then so on and so on. We come from the lineage of people. And is it something that we can say, oh, this is exactly how I want it to be? And so I think there's so many times where we can condemn, like, oh, how dare, if we go biblical, how dare, Adam and Eve, do the things that they did, that's judgment, it can go that far. And so I find that that's something that I see that can continuously be a structure that we can uphold for ourselves.
I love my structure. I've been going through podiatry school, medical school, couldn't survive without my structure. Everything was organized from this hour to that hour. I'm going to study this. I'm going to do that. And my roommate saw my schedule for the day. And I went to the bathroom. He wrote like 10 to 10:30 take a crap. So he was more like he was studying and go for a run. But without my structure, I don't have flexibility. Oh. The structure allows me to, something comes up, I can move things around faster versus like, oh, I'm going to live day by day without intent. And what happens is when you really have to do something and something else comes up, like my friend just got into the hospital, but I was able to stop what I was doing and go visit him, the other day. And then not without worrying about, am I going to get that work done? I'm not going to get it done. So it allows me the flexibility, and living with intent, having structure gives you clarity. Clarity is what, if you don't have clarity, you have anxiety. And so I have a routine every morning, and sometimes like I wrote a book. When I wrote my book, I said, you know what? I'm going to skip some of the part of the routine to get the book done. So I allowed myself some flexibility, but that's also hard for me because I should be meditating. I should make sure I got my MCT oil in my coffee. I should, read my 10 pages in my book. But really what I really need to do is write my book. And, so you have to have that flexibility built in.
That's so powerful. It's funny you bring that up because this has really been on my mind a lot. I'm like, when was I the most productive in my life? Also the most happy, also the most fulfilled, like all of it, right? And I loved school. I failed my first semester of college and had to learn how to learn and came back afterwards. But afterwards I started getting straight A's and I was like, how come? And it was the structure. And it's one of the biggest things I miss from that period of my life. And I, even when I was Russell Brunson's funnel guy and I wanted to build funnels of my own, I had like no time. But I made 2 to 3 hours every day. And it's funny because I started comparing it to like 4 years after I'd left. And I was like, how come I felt like I was getting more done when I had less time? You ever feel that? Yeah. And I was like, what is happening? It was like, like supreme lack of structure was what was going on.
Even in the last couple...
Too much freedom.
In the last couple of weeks when we've just been intensely busy leading up to the podcast launch and this and everything, I said, it's been so busy that I almost haven't had time to be stressed about it.
Yeah.
There's so much that's happening that I can't even think about the individual things, that if I had more open space, but like one individual thing, I might be more stressed about that. But because I have so much in this season, not that I want it to be like that all the time. And there's seasons for momentum and seasons for rest, which I think is, we're also learning about that. We actually, we had this realization the other day that we're very much running towards our dreams, but also have this perception that we're also running from a monster. Does anyone feel that?
At the same time. So you never stop running?
Because it's like, well, how do you slow down when you're in this momentum? Because if you slow down, you won't get closer to the dream, to the goal, the ambition. And you could slow down and just be like, yeah, well, it's fine. We'll get there eventually. There's time. But then if you slow down, will the monster catch up? Do you guys know what I'm...
Yeah.
Do you guys know that? Okay, I'm not the only... like, oh, I'm broken. This is all just me.
Nope.
And then we
call
had,
it being hunted by the wolf.
Yeah. And we had this big conversation about like, well, why can't we just slow down?
A human being instead of human doing.
Yeah, what does that mean? We're like, if we don't have these routines that are like, business and hustle and the big goals and ambitions that we're going after, what would that look like? Do you guys know? Because
asking for a friend.
In order to speed up, you need to slow down.
Yeah,
it's everything. So the things that talking about energy, making sure you're eating right, exercising, drinking enough water, sleeping, all that will give you more energy. So what happens is when we speed up too quickly, what happens is we eliminate some kinds to report the things that keep us going. So in order to speed up, you need to slow down. You need to focus. I do this forever. Write down the top 3 things you need to do the next day. Like you're telling everyone to do. I've been doing that for 30 years. Yeah. And just focus on the one domino that's going to get all the dominoes fall down. The slight edge philosophy. You read that book. It's a great book. Yeah. So, and that will speed you up. But we have so many things we want to do. And we're all over the place. And we're we freeze. Okay. And it's up. Not you. And that's my question for you. It's you just keep buying stuff to your plate. You got to get on Broadway or in the cinema. And meanwhile, you're going to be having a podcast and teach everybody CCO.
Mm-hmm. Oh. This might be the radical deletion part of trying to figure out what are the things to delete. Because when we were talking about well, what is the monster that is supposedly chasing us?
Being broke.
Maintaining what you've built.
Socialism. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think for me, it was giving myself permission to step into the hard. For so long, I let everyone else set the structure for my life, which is why I resisted it so heavy. I didn't want the structure because I was someone telling me what to do. And I didn't want anyone to tell me what to do because it had been my whole life, right? My parents, the school system, or whoever it was. And I was anti being told what to do. But you do have to have certain constructs be successful and to step into what you want and step into what you need and who you need to be. And I actually like the deletion concept because I know that's coming shortly in my path. But I think you have to give yourself permission to step into whatever it is you need and what resonates with you, that we're more powerful than we know. And when you see the thing that you know is attracting you, there's a reason for it, and just step into it as opposed to being afraid of it.
Yep, and that, Monique.
2 years ago, I realized that I was running like that. And, nothing is always as clear as we think. So For 15 years, I have been focused. This is for a beautiful marriage. You have these 2 kids. The dream was to take them to live overseas and build a business. And we were living our dream. We came back to the US, bought grandparents' property. And 2 years ago, I found myself in my son's bed with this Spider-Man comforter over me. And I was just in a absolute panic, freaked out state because I thought, what am I doing? Who am I doing it for? How long can I hold this? How can I sustain this? And what I realized is that I was like holding everything myself. I was running from the monster. And I don't drink coffee. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. And one night I had this dream. And in this dream,
At the same time.
a golden teacher mushroom shows up. And I thought, am I tripping? Because I don't know what's... And this golden teacher mushroom spoke to me and said, go find me and take me. Wow. And I woke up and I told Derek, you're never going to believe this, but I think we're supposed to do golden teacher. He goes, no, it sounds like you're supposed to.
Sounds like a you thing.
So I had no idea where to get golden teacher because I don't run in these circles.
Yeah.
And so I'm on a walk one day and I'm like, well, you have to show me where to get it. And someone's name popped into my head and their number was in my phone. And I just texted him and said, do you have golden teacher? And he said, I do. What are you doing? And so we both went into our back property and laid on the ground for 8 hours and took golden teacher. And when you spoke, it really touched my heart because what I realized is it went back to my beginning as well. And I was the baby that came on that fun teenage night when there was probably LSD and all kinds of stuff involved. And my whole life, I had been working to say, please keep me here. Please don't. I don't want to be a burden. I know you didn't want me. I know I was a surprise. I know I brought you shame and embarrassment. But please don't get rid of me. Because when my mom got pregnant with me, she scheduled an abortion. And so I knew that there was this threat. And this all came through this dirty. But what I realized is I was trying so hard to prove that I deserved to be here. And none of us should have to prove that day in and day out. And I did the hardest thing I ever did. I dropped everything. I stopped everything. And that meant risking a lot. A family property that I had just bought. A lifestyle that we had had for a very long time. Bringing more shame and embarrassment on my family because they're all very successful. And I began to look at the things that I had not wanted to look at. And it was this whole thing of structure was a big part of it because it was like, I felt like in the midst of all of that I had to do for other people to prove that I deserved to be here, I needed the space for me to be rebellious and free. But that wasn't serving me. And I did all that in my business. I just wake up and do whatever the heck I wanted in that day. And I moved spontaneously and I thought it was inspired action, but it was my own little space for chaos. And it is actually just about 2 months ago, I sat down at the table and I told my husband, create all the structure for this business. I have a vision, but you have the structure. And I can't even tell you what that feels like to have things these are calendars, and this is a 10,000 word document and manual for a sales team and closers. I mean, the whole thing. And that was everything I thought I didn't want. And now I don't have to prove who I am. I don't have to prove that I deserve to be here. I already know what it feels like to stop. I didn't die. I didn't lose everything that I worked for, but I found myself. And so now he holds the structure. And I get to be that ocean.
Oh, wow.
you.
Thank you so
That
much.
was so beautiful. And then we'll go to
Be
James after.
Still, and know that I'm God. I love that.
The monster behind it, the lungs that were just booming over me. And all I could hear is my son, Ani, don't go, to the clinic. I'm like, baby, Ani, she has patience waiting. We're pulling my son off of me and him pulling back away from me emotionally because of that. And I was in a really dark place. That was structure. And I mean, it was down to everything. Like everything ate, everything. And I had a moment sitting in the clinic where I was like just charting all night. I knew I was going to come home and maybe make the last 30 minutes before bedtime, probably not. And I came across a Wayne Dyer's quote. It reminded me of that Romans. The Wayne Dyer quote was change the way you look at things you look change.
Mm-hmm.
And I originally felt like really convicted because I thought God's telling me, be happy with the meat mouth. Like change the way you look at it. You have a lot of good things. And then I realized, and I thought of Romans 12:2, and I realized that I just needed to be in divine connections. And I needed to change the way I looked at things, and that I had hidden gems around me. And I had to start changing the way I looked at things and finding those solutions. I'm finding out that if feel like I'm running to like that beast burning behind me is like wearing me out and I can't handle anymore, then God's redirecting me to a different structure. Like I believe that He uses that passion in me and the desire for to grow and to be an entrepreneur and do the things that I want to do to propel me to the missions that He wants me to do. But it's not always going to be done the way that I think it needs to be done. I need to stop and pause and look, what is a different way that I could be looking at this or doing it that's in a flow, that's in a natural way. And then you'll find out that time will slow down for you because things will start happening for you in miraculous ways. Mm-hmm. We just have to literally take ourselves out of how we are revisioning our physical world. And we're all saying physical world's actually different than the world that we take action in. And we let it stay in that flow.
Thank you so much.
James?
So close your eyes and imagine you're 10 years old and you're in the hospital by yourself and the doors opening and closing. Your parents are outside and the nurse coming in and out. And suddenly you hear a man's voice that says, don't anybody mention death. We haven't told her. What would you do? I looked up to the heavens. I said, God, if you want me here tomorrow, fine. You don't want me here tomorrow, I'll still be with you. So it's okay with me. And that's the structure that I did. I asked every single morning, exactly what do you want me to do? I don't get out of bed. The way it tells me. And we all have calendars. Mine's got lots of colors. Right now it's a lot of yellow because that's my self-care color. Has a lot of green because I'm in learning mode. I can change my calendar because it's today. I can cancel, like you said, everything off of today, the tomorrow. I can go fly to Boise the moment's notice if I didn't to.
And she did.
Because I'm listening and I'm asking. But it wasn't always that way. I've had 2 abortions, 2 miscarriages, a marriage with a man who died in my arms. I was strangled. I traveled in 30 countries. I can tell you 1,000 stories. But I can also tell you that God is faithful. So why do I want structure? Because I can hear. But if the night before, I don't prepare my supplements. If the guy tells me to give and go somewhere and I haven't gotten my body taken care of, then I'm out. I don't have it. I don't have the fullness. So the fullness is having it on the list, like I'm said, knowing that you can always adjust it, doing it automatically. Going to bed at the time you need to go to bed or cleaning up. And then when you get up in the morning, all you have to do is listen. And it's magical. And exactly what you said, it's happened. Because by the grace of God, we're all here to talk about it today. And we're all testimonies to that. We all have these amazing bodies that are healing before our eyes.
I love Jesus so much, but I cuss a little.
I do too. I'm in the same boat.
I fucking hate structure so much. I've never been able to stand it. And when my wife and I got married, I was a truck driver. I had my own trucking company. So I wasn't structured. I just had to make money. So I knew what to do. And so she is very structured. And when I got out of trucking, because trucking wasn't making enough to provide for the family, I got into sales. And man, I loved sales because I didn't have to have structure. I just had to go in and make sales. I could anytime I wanted to. It was awesome. And then I don't care about paying the mortgage. I don't want to pay the mortgage. I want to make $1 million. I want to make $2 million. Well, paying the mortgage is important.
So
And this
Amen.
is where my wife, the question earlier was, did you marry somebody who was not an entrepreneur and then became an entrepreneur? I was not an entrepreneur. I was just a truck driver who found out that I could make more money having my own trucking company. But then I got into sales, and then I got introduced to One Funnel Away, and then I saw you chugging Red Bull. And
That's very loud back there.
And that was the gateway
I
drug.
want all of this. And so then I just started I was like, I'm just going to make $1 million. And then we started to get behind on bills. And then COVID happened. And I was selling business to business insurance through paycheck deduction. Well, when everybody stops going to work and paychecks are coming in, all our income stopped. Everything started. And then I started dreaming bigger. So then I was like, now I'm going to make $10 million. But the mortgage payment still wasn't being made. And so over the last 3 years, just financial complete mayhem had entered our lives. And so I need structure. So that was really good.
Oh, yeah, that's all. It's interesting. I've noticed it's the same structure that causes usually 1 to 3 million a year. And then after that, it's a different structure that goes to 10. It's a different structure that goes to 30.
What got you here won't get you there.
It's really
what
true.
What got you here will kill you.
It's funny. I was getting to a spot where I was making, lots. And then I was like, I want to 10X it. But I had this deep, really a lot where this started for me was sitting back and going, I know what it takes to go to the next level. And I'm not willing to build that structure because I don't love what I'm doing enough at that time. That was like 7 years ago, but that was it's huge.
Someone said that, woman over here, I think the husband was doing the structure part. I mean, I suffer for once trying to do videos, all right? And then try to do some editing. F that. That took that. All right, some dude in the Philippines. And I know what I'm good at, and that's where I want to spend at least 80% of my time. So, I mean, you need some structure, but don't fight everything. What you're good at is being creative. So, you hire everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There you go.
We'll do the last few here if that's all right with everyone.
I wanted to make sure that I was intentional about my ties. I homeschool. I have a business. I have all these other things going on. And yeah, I also want to spend time with God. I also need to prep for leading worship on Sunday. I also need to get my run in. I also need to do these things. And because I didn't have that structured routine, it would just the day would fly by. I'm like, oh crap, I didn't do any of that. What happened? And sure, I had great time with my kids, but they didn't I didn't get my work done. So that's where I installed the actual intentional time. So I got my sacred time on my calendar. I got my client time on calendar, and time where people can schedule calls for you. It's flexible. I got my homeschooling time. So I could totally understand people that don't want to live inside of that. But for me, it feels like sweet off. It really does. And coming from a background of chaos, I was a paramedic and firefighter for 13 years. And so coming into entrepreneurial, where instead of someone telling me what to do all the time, where to go and who to help and all the things, I had to be that off for myself. It's been a huge, huge leap of growth. And Barley, I think this about being the last year I've lost about 80 pounds and installing that structure of real food, water, sleep. And it's just been a complete transformation.
Yeah.
Powerful. Wow.
So amazing.
I've noticed that with more structure, you actually live more life in the same amount of time as well.
It's a Slipstream Time Hacking. It's an incredible book from Dr. Benjamin Hardy where he talks about to measure time by distance traveled rather than time elapsed, that you can actually live more life in your years. And I think we know what that feels like, that the things that we do in our life, even if we're very busy, even if we're, taking on lots at the same time, we are doing more. We are living more life in a year than maybe our past self, or maybe people that have a different kind of lifestyle. No judgment, but like I can say my this year as an entrepreneur, as a stepmom, as a podcast, YouTube, all the exciting, fun things that I've decided to pursue is much different than the Marley that was a dental hygienist year. Like the things that are in that container means you live more in that distance traveled rather than time elapsed.
Absolutely. Shelly.
It just looks different. Structure looks different for all of us, and it depends on what time of the life we're in and business and all of that. So